All right, Shalom. Well, let's start out by saying Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem, Harikah Kodash, Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder Heroin as well. Salutations to the argument that are pushing the truth, the sincerity, and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, I'm Kanaksa on Ban Yasharla from the Lions of the Yasharla camp and doing another lesson. And this one is going to be on this article that I was reading that says Inside JFK's Secret Doomsday Bunker. All right. It says the president's Nantucket nuclear fallout shelter could become a national historic landmark, but efforts to preserve its history have stalled. All right. So it's really going to be annihilated. And if anybody tries to use that bunker, then, they're going to cook in that bunker. The Lord's going to destroy everything here in America. Nothing's going to be left. No, if you're not of the elect, then you're going to be toast, scorched, ashes, annihilated, disintegrated, Lord willing, this lesson to edify and serve this purpose for the hopeful elect ones to truly believe in the name of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. So now, the first topic at hand, doomsday bunkers. All right, you have your doomsday preppers, the ones that are trying to prepare for what's to come, So with that being said, they're trying to prepare themselves for the destruction that's coming on this earth, because you can feel it in the air. If you want to try to act like you're an ostrich with your head in the sand, you can, but there's judgment coming to the earth. You can just see it, and that judgment is being brought by Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, and so the only preparation is for the elect, and that's to have faith in Yahweh Shai, the one who's going to deliver us from what's to come, So you have them tampering with a lot of things. You have them preparing for a lot of things, but none of that's going to save them, You have them doing that whole, with those hydrogen colliders and with CERN, trying to pull stuff through see what they can pull in the, just provoking the Lord to anger. And pretty much if you poke at a bear that's been hibernating so long, it's going to wake up, This is, so you're going to get what you're looking for. And Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has something in store for these individuals and 2/3 of our people, This is Amos 5:18. It says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. Right. So the day of the Lord is darkness. So it's going to be a dark, gloomy time, and they're not going to know what to do. They're going to run into their doomsday bunkers, and they're going to have all the stockpile of food, and they're going to burn up right in there with it. Because the Lord is going to make sure everything is annihilated in this place. All right? Nobody's going to make it out of here except for the elect. That's it. All right? So now, ultimately, by them trying to prepare themselves, they're ultimately setting a trap for themselves. All right? It says, woe to you unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. You have the good old church folks that desire the day of the Lord, but they don't even know exactly what they're desiring. They're gonna mess around and find out when that day comes. It says, as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him. Right. So you turn one corner to, they prepping themselves for the stockpile food and shit like that, for what's to come, and not even knowing exactly what judgment is being brought, because that's only been told to the elect, and only the elect are going to be able to understand. Everybody else is not going to listen. They ain't going to know how to prepare themselves. All right. So it's going to be, you can't run from the anger of the Lord. It says, And they said, as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went to a house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. Right. So there's no every time you feel like you've got some safety and refuge, something else is gonna so I mean, just imagine you being locked in those bunkers, right? And the Lord, you and your family, and your Lord just turn off a switch in your wife's head to make her go ballistic and crazy, and now y'all stuck down there. You know what I'm saying? The Lord has so many different ways to bring this judgment, man. So there's no way for these doomsday preppers to prepare for it. All right. So it says in November 1957, Soviet Communist Party chief Nikita Khrushchev bragged to an American reporter about the effectiveness of his country's long-range missiles. Right. So to be honest with you, Russia's always been leading the charge when it comes to um, uh, arms and stuff like that. But America has the backing of NATO, so you know what I'm saying. America seems to be a bit more of a powerhouse. It says, ensuing a taunting challenge to the United States government, he said, "Let's have a peaceful rocket contest, just like a rifle shooting match, and they'll see for themselves." Right. So back then, Russia felt like they were equipped enough, but actually, it was the Soviet Union at that time. All right, so if I'm not mistaken, Ukraine was once a part of the Soviet Union, the ones they're fighting with right now. 4 years later, in 1961, the threat of nuclear war loomed largely over the United States, while Khrushchev had directed his comments at Dwight D. Eisenhower administration. All right, that's the "In God We Trust," speaking great things guy. It says the question of how to handle America's increasingly contentious relationship with the Soviets was now in the hands of a newly elected President, John F. Kennedy. All right. And it says, where is this? It says, that May, Nelson Rockefeller, then chair of the Civil Defense Committee of the Conference of Governors, encouraged Kennedy to initiate a national fallout shelter program. After securing $207 million in funding, the federal government started surveying schools and other public buildings to determine their suitability as potential bunkers. Once identified, these shelters were marked as such and stocked with supplies. All right. It says, in addition to establishing public shelters, officials emphasized an individual responsibility in the event of a nuclear attack. Students participated in duck and cover drills at school, practicing how to protect themselves from an explosion. Some citizens built private bunkers in their basements and backyards, following the instructions laid out in government pamphlets. While most of these makeshift shelters would do little to shield those inside from an initial blast, they ostensibly offered such protection against radioactive fallout. Kennedy encouraged but didn't subsidize construction of these private bunkers. All right, his administration did implement a fallout shelter loan program. Addressing the nation in a televised speech on July 25th, he said, in the event of an attack, the lives of those families which are not hit in a nuclear blast and fire can be saved if they can be warned to take shelter, if that shelter is available. We owe that kind of insurance to our families and our country. But that's not going to save anybody. That's going to, put them in even more danger, because the Lord's going to heat this place up, man. And so, but it wasn't time for it back then. So they feel like they have a sense of security. They have all these new bunkers now, state of the art bunkers that they've been building over the years. They got that big mountain over there in Colorado that they have that little underground city in that can hold like 1 million people. You know, but none of that's going to protect them when the judgment of Yahweh Shem Shai comes. It says the president himself wasn't exempt from this call to action. For decades, Kennedy and his extended family had vacationed in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, a Cape Cod town where his father had bought a home in the 1920s. The Kennedy compound, as it was known, became an American institution as JFK ascended to the presidency. It was featured in magazines, on television programs, and a symbol of Camelot, where First Lady Jackie Kennedy, who often said with the couple's 2 young children, and the president would visit as often as schedule permitted. It says, just like the White House, the small hamlet would naturally be a potential target of any Soviet nuclear attack. Due to the security risk, officials decided to build a bunker on nearby Nantucket inside island in Nantucket, an island 30 miles out to sea. A second bunker was installed on a peanut island near Kennedy's vacation home in Palm Beach, Florida. So the president would have a place to continue to run what was left of the country and its government wherever he might be at the time of a missile strike. But ain't nothing going to be left once these missiles go off. All right, so today both shelters are in a state of despair, Slakia, but efforts are underway to preserve their history, perhaps by turning the sites into museums and securing their designation as National Historic Landmarks. All right, so now next part of the article. See, you know, they do all these things, right? And that comes from having a carnal mind. As you know, but the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. He turneth it wheresoever he will. You know? So so the Lord has it in their mind that to make them feel like they have a sense of security, but what it really is false hope. Because without Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you ain't making it out of here. All right, it says in the early 1960s, Nantucket's Tom Nevers Naval Facility was a top secret submarine listening post. At the time, the island had around 3,500 year-round residents, and the space around the military base was not developed. No one lived out in the Tom Nevers area, so it was way out there for the locals, says Robert Young, a third-party generation resident. Young recalls delivering milk to the facility when he was a teenager. There was a guard station I had to approach each day, he said. You have thought they would eventually wade me through since I was delivering necessary supplies daily, but not a chance. I had to stop every single time and get cleared to pass. All right, so there was obviously some other top secret stuff going down in this place. So this is just going into the construction of the bunker. All right, let me read this part. It says, per the Providence Journal, construction of the shelter took less than 2 weeks, spanning 1,900 square feet. The partially underground bunker has a relatively simple layout consisting of a long metal corridor that ends in the three-way juncture. The right side opens into a mechanical room, while the left leads to the general gathering space. All right, but all that's not going to be even matter because that was just not really a well constructed bunker. But the bunkers that they have nowadays are really state of the art and advanced. But that's still not gonna suffice when Yahweh Shem Yahushua brings his judgment. All right, it says at the time of the bunker's construction, tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were high. Soon, this mutual distrust culminated in the Cuban Missile Crisis, a 13-day standoff in October 1962 over the Soviets' installation of a nuclear-equipped missiles on the Caribbean island. The crisis ended peacefully with Khrushchev agreeing to remove the missiles in exchange for U.S. removing its own missiles installations in Turkey. Right. So, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago, Russia put a nuclear powered submarine some nuclear weapons back over there in the island of Cuba. All right. It says, despite coming dangerously close to a nuclear war on multiple occasions, including in 1962 and 1983 when the Soviets mistook a NATO military drill for an impending missile strike, the Cold War failed to reach the highs anticipated by bunker builders and other doomsday preppers. Kennedy never needed his Nantucket fallout shelter. As far as the local officials known, the president didn't even visit the site before his assassination on November 22nd, 1963. All right. Following Kennedy's death, the bunker was left largely untouched until the naval facility closed it in 1976. All right. So let me get a couple scriptures. Let's start out with Obadiah. All right. So this is their natural instinct to want to be inside rocks and stuff like that, because that's who they are. They're cave dwellers, man. There's Obadiah 1:1. It says, the vision of Obadiah, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shire, concerning Edom. It says, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sit among the heathen. Arise ye, let us rise up against her in battle. All right, that ambassador is Esau, of course. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. All right. So everybody don't like this devil. They just tolerate him. The pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is on high, who saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? So these cavemen are really got their minds, mindset, pride lifted them up to where, like, basically, like look at how they want to be. If you think about it, they want to be in a high rise on the top floor, concrete building up in, just like a mountain, and that's how they are. That's how their mindset is. That's how their spirits. That, like, a matter of fact, let me get who dwelleth in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is on high. Right. So that's also a mindset. So let me get Habakkuk. But it's just the mindset. But they're not upright. Their spirit is not upright. They're wicked. All right. So they really need to be brought low, because that's initially they are low. All right. So it says, Habakkuk 2:4 says, behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Right. His soul is not lifted up, right? So he wouldn't know how to prepare himself, man, because he's unrighteous, man. He always deals with unrighteous dealings. But the just shall live by faith. So we have faith that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to deliver us from this upcoming destruction. That's why we speak on it. That's why we prophesy about it. So now we're talking about cavemen that love to dwell in the clefts of the rocks. All right. It says, the Obadiah 1:4 says, though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and though thou set thy nest among stars, then will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Right. So though they exalt themselves, right, and they set up the satellites so they can play Big Brother and see everything, the Lord's going to bring all that shit down and them right along with it. All right. Next scripture I want to get is Amos chapter. No. Let me see. Let's get Revelation 6:14. All right. It says, no, 6:12. It says, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, and the moon as blood. Right. So that's what the missiles is going to be doing, man. Shaking everything, and that fallout is going to cover up the sun. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Right. So those stars that are falling are the missiles, man. And this is what they're hiding from in these bunkers. All right. It says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island was moved out of their place. So all these governments are going to be destroyed, right? But mountains and islands are going to be destroyed too, especially over here in America. Everything's going to be burnt up. It says, all the kings of the earth and great men and the rich men and the chief captains, this is all the upper elites and everything, right? And the mighty men and every bondman and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the cleft, in the rocks of the mountains. So they're going to hide in these bunkers, right? But it's literally not going to do them any good, because Yahweh Shem Yahushai, judgment is still going to come. The men of the Lord, anybody that's in these bunkers, the Lord's going to send them hunters out to fish them out. All right. What is this one? And it says, Slakia. Verse 16. And it said, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Right? So they're trying to hide us from this destruction that they bring in. But Yahweh Shem Yahushai has something for them. This is Amos chapter 9 and 2. It says, though they dig into hell, thence shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. Because they're going to try to go out into space too. They're going to try to hide out in this space station that they have out there. But the Lord's going to bring them down and dig them up. All right. So this is Isaiah chapter 2, verse 19, probably close it out with this. It says, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he arises to shake terribly the earth, man. But the Lord's going to dig them out of there, man, when they try to hide. So building a bunker to try to prepare yourself for what's to come is not the way to go. All right. So what we run into is the name of the Lord, which is a strong tower. All right. The righteous run into it and are safe. So Yahweh Shem Yahushai becomes our bunker, our protection for what's to come. All right. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying and served its purpose with that of like Sekah Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harakah Kwadash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, and my elder Herawan as well. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Shalom.